What if I told you the golden age of Hollywood was more tequila than tuxedo? Behind the red carpets and charming smiles were wild brawls, secret affairs, drunken benders, and scandals so juicy they'd make TMZ blush. These stars weren't just famous, they were feral. They broke laws, broke hearts, and sometimes the whole damn industry. Buckle up, Buttercup. We're diving headfirst into old Hollywood's messiest, sexiest, most unhinged legends. And trust us, your grandma's favorite matinee idol was probably a menace. Number 1, Marlon Brando. The method, the madness, the meltdown. Marlon Brando didn't just act, he detonated. He stepped onto the screen like a thunderstorm in a leather jacket and mumbled his way into cinema history. A Streetcar Named Desire wasn't just a movie. It was Brando setting fire to the old rules of acting, and Hollywood just stood there mesmerized, holding a fire extinguisher. But for all that genius, Brando was one walking, brooding, emotionally unstable volcano. One minute he was reinventing performance, the next he was sabotaging a set, a relationship, or his own career. He had more lovers than award nominations. And that's saying something? Men, women, co-stars, waitstaff, you name it. Brando didn't have a type. He had an orbit. His love life was a Greek tragedy. His family life full-blown Shakespeare. His son Christian shot and killed his sister's boyfriend. His daughter Cheyenne later died by suicide. Brando was gutted. He withdrew, gained weight, and wore caftans like emotional armor. He clashed with studios, ghosted directors, and literally refused his Oscar for The Godfather. Sent a Native American activist in his place and then peaced out. Iconic, yes. Petty, also yes. He was brilliant and exhausting. Friends said he could be deeply kind or cold as ice. Sometimes in the same sentence. He once said, "I'm not sure I'm a human being." Fair, because most humans don't explode every relationship they touch and still get cast in blockbusters. Brando lived like a man allergic to rules, peace, and possibly pants. But when the camera rolled, everything made sense. His pain, his rage, his passion, they weren't just acted. They were him. Marlon Brando didn't play characters. He channeled them, and sometimes he couldn't turn them off. Number 2, Clark Gable, the king with a crown of scandal. Clark Gable was the king of Hollywood, the jawline chiseled, the voice like bourbon and gravel, the swagger off the charts. On screen, he was Rhett Butler, cocky, charming, irresistible. But behind the scenes, let's just say this king ruled over a kingdom of cover-ups. Gable had that old school charm, but his private life was less. Gone with the wind, more gone with the evidence. The biggest bombshell, Loretta Young. In the 1930s, during filming of Call of the Wild, Gable allegedly assaulted her. She got pregnant. The studio went full panic mode. Loretta disappeared for months, gave birth in secret, and then adopted her own child. Classic Hollywood damage control, equal parts chilling and outrageous. Meanwhile, Gable played the ultimate leading man on screen and off. Married women, no problem. Studio starlets, practically a hobby. He was a one-man HR nightmare, but MGM had his back, always. One insider put it best. You just had to keep the press fed and the police out of it. That's not PR. That's witness tampering with a side of martinis. To the public, he was the fantasy, strong, silent, unshakable. But in reality, Gable was messy, magnetic, and totally untouchable. He left behind more broken hearts and studio payoffs than most stars could rack up in 10 lifetimes. Sure, he gave us unforgettable characters, but he also reminded us that Hollywood's golden glow often hides a very dark shadow. Clark Gable was a legend, no doubt, but legends don't always wear white hats. Sometimes they wear a smirk and let the studio clean up the ashes. Number 3, Errol Flynn. Hollywood's original hot mess in a velvet cape. If James Bond and a frat party had a baby, it'd be Errol Flynn. Swashbuckling hero by day, scandal magnet by night. Flynn didn't just play pirates, he was one. With his razor-sharp jawline, British accent, and that devil-may-care glint in his eye, he swung into Hollywood like a wrecking ball in tight pants. Fans saw a dashing rogue, but behind the scenes, total chaos. Flynn partied like prohibition never happened. Booze women, more booze, some swords, maybe espionage. Yes, espionage. Some folks whispered he had ties to Nazi agents. He denied it. But let's be real. If anyone in 1940s Hollywood was double-crossing in a tuxedo while drunk, it was probably Flynn. In 1942, things hit the fan. He was charged with the statutory rape by 2 teenage girls. He got acquitted, but his reputation torched. Still, Flynn leaned into the chaos. His mansion was reportedly rigged with peepholes and two-way mirrors like a Bond villain's Airbnb. He once bragged, "I like my whiskey old and my women young." Yeah, that didn't age well. Rumors swirled about drug smuggling and international mischief. But Flynn just kept drinking, smirking, and setting fire to whatever bridges remained. By 50, his liver waved a white flag and his body gave out. Ravaged by years of living like a rolling stone with a sword, Flynn didn't just break the rules. He chased them down in a sports car and ran them over while winking at your girlfriend. Legend, absolutely. Role model, God. No number 4, Charlie Chaplin. The with a type. Charlie Chaplin made the world laugh without saying a word. But behind that bowler hat and iconic mustache, things got real weird real fast. He wasn't just the king of silent film, he was also the king of questionable dating choices. Chaplin had a thing for teenage girls, like an actual pattern. At 35, he married 16-year-old Lita Gray. Gross, absolutely. Legal, barely. Romantic, not even close. Lita later called the marriage a living nightmare, packed with control manipulation and more drama than a daytime soap. Then came actress Joan Barry, who claimed Chaplin fathered her child. The court ordered him to pay child support, even after blood tests proved he wasn't the dad. Let that sink in. Chaplin got hit with a bill for a baby that wasn't his. Tough break, but wait, there's more. During the Red Scare, Chaplin was labeled a communist sympathizer. The US government basically ghosted him. While traveling in 1952, America said, "Nah," and banned him from coming back. Harsh, still. Through scandal and exile, Chaplin insisted, "I'm just a clown." Yeah, well, a clown with a god complex. A habit for underage brides and a whole FBI file. His films were genius. His timing impeccable, but his private life, yikes. The man who made millions laugh couldn't stop his personal life from becoming a full-blown circus. Hollywood covered for him for a while, but when the curtain pulled back, Chaplin's legacy came with an asterisk and a whole lot of side-eye. Number 5, Robert Mitchum, Hollywood's chillest criminal. Robert Mitchum wasn't acting cool. He was cool. He strolled into Hollywood like he'd just woken up from a nap and didn't care if the cameras were rolling. With that sleepy glare, gravel voice, and whatever man attitude Mitchum made, rebellion looked like a fashion statement. And boy did he live it. In 1948, Mitchum got busted at a Hollywood party, caught red-eyed smoking weed in an era when that was career suicide. Studios panicked. Mitchum, he shrugged and said, "It's just like being busted for holding a beer." Then did jail time like it was jury duty. When he got out, his star power somehow went up. Only Mitchum could turn a mugshot into a headshot. He wasn't just a stoner with swagger. Mitchum had fists and wasn't afraid to use them. He got into bar fights, scuffled on set, and mouthed off to directors like they were unpaid interns. Producers tried to wrangle him. Good luck. He once famously said, "The only difference between me and my characters is I don't shoot people." Comforting. But here's the kicker. Audiences loved it. The danger, the defiance, the sense that at any moment he might just walk off, set, and into a bar fight. Hollywood tried to tame him, and he just leaned back, lit a cigarette, and smirked. Unlike other stars, Mitchum didn't pretend to be perfect. He didn't hide his chaos behind a PR team. He owned it. And somehow that honesty mixed with a dash of don't care energy made him immortal. Robert Mitchum wasn't built for Hollywood. He just made it his bar stool. Number 6, George Reeves. The Superman who couldn't be saved. He wore the cape. He stood for truth, justice, and the American way. But off-screen George Reeves was less Superman and more film noir protagonist, brooding, paranoid, and very, very dead. In the 1950s, Reeves became America's first Superman. Kids adored him. Parents approved. He was clean-cut, square-jawed, and probably made of steel, or at least really tight spandex. But behind the costume trouble, lots of it. In 1959, Reeves was found dead in his bedroom. Gunshot wound to the head, ruled a suicide. Case closed. Except almost no one believed it. And honestly, can you blame them? Reeves had been tangled in a steamy affair with Toni Manx, the wife of a powerful MGM exec with mob connections. When he dumped her for a younger woman, weird stuff started happening. Friends said he felt watched, followed, threatened, like someone had kryptonite and a grudge. The night he died, guests were downstairs when they heard the shot, but nobody heard footsteps. The gun had no fingerprints. No powder burns on Reeves's hands. Oh, and the bullet trajectory suspiciously un-Superman-like. Rumors flew faster than a speeding bullet. Was it a jealous lover? A mob hit? A Hollywood cover-up? Or did Reeves, crushed by typecasting and depression, really pull the trigger himself? We may never know, but the mystery turned the Man of Steel into a symbol of something darker. What happens when fame fades and the mask starts to crack? Reeves wanted out of Hollywood. Instead, he left it with one of its greatest unsolved cases. His death was so messy, so eerie, it made tabloids salivate and conspiracy theorists foam at the mouth. As one reporter put it, Superman was supposed to save people, but no one saved him. Number 7, Rock Hudson, the heartthrob with Hollywood's biggest secret. Rock Hudson wasn't just a leading man. He was the leading man, tall, tan, devastatingly handsome, with a chin so perfect it could slice bread. On screen, he was the dreamboat who always got the girl off screen. He was playing a far more dangerous role, pretending to be someone he wasn't. In 1950s, Hollywood being gay wasn't just career-ending. It was life-ending. So, the studios built a lie around Hudson tall enough to block out the sun. Fake dates with actresses, check. Staged photo oots with starlets, double check. A marriage of convenience to his secretary. Of course, Hudson wasn't just in the closet. He had a full furniture set and a publicist living in there with him. Behind closed doors, it was a different story. Friends had to keep secrets. Lovers had to hide. And Hudson had to smile through it all, playing the romantic hero while knowing the truth could destroy him. Then, in 1985, the mask cracked. Hudson revealed he had AIDS, making him the first major celebrity to do so. The news hit like an earthquake. America gasped. Hollywood froze. The public who once adored him didn't know whether to feel betrayed or heartbroken. Suddenly, the Golden Boy was the face of a terrifying epidemic. But that confession changed everything. Hudson's bravery forced the media and the nation to stop whispering about AIDS and start talking. He put a human face to a crisis that had been swept under the red carpet. He died that same year, but his final role, truth teller, groundbreaker, real man, may have been his most heroic. Rock Hudson was a legend, a lie, and finally a legacy. Number 8, Tab Hunter. The teen dream living a Hollywood lie. In the 1950s, if you were a teenage girl, your locker door probably had one face on it. Tab Hunter. Blonde, blue-eyed smile so bright it could cure seasonal depression. He was the poster boy for clean-cut, all-American masculinity. But there was a twist, a big one. While America swooned over Tab, the heartthrob Tab, the human was living a secret life and it was eating him alive. See, Tab Hunter was gay, and in Golden Age Hollywood, that was like being a vampire in a garlic factory. One whiff of the truth and your career was dead. So, the studios went into overdrive. Fake dates with actresses, photo ops with beauty queens, tabloid plants saying he was searching for the right girl. Meanwhile, Tab was searching for an exit from the charade. At one point, he was arrested at a gay party. The studio had a meltdown so big, it could have been its own disaster movie. Publicists went full ninja mode to keep his name out of the headlines. One slip, one rumor, and it was over. And the worst part, Tab played along. Not because he wanted to, but because he had to. I couldn't be who I was, he later said. Not in that system. Not back then. So he lived 2 lives, one in Technicolor, one in total shadow. Eventually, fame faded as it always does, and Hollywood moved on to the next pretty face. But Tab didn't disappear. Decades later, he came out publicly in a memoir that shocked fans and earned a standing ovation from a whole new generation. He wasn't just a forgotten matinee idol, he was a survivor. Tab Hunter didn't get to be his true self in his prime, but in the end, he got the last word, and it was honest, brave, and beautifully real. Number 9, Spencer Tracy. The leading man with demons in the wings. Spencer Tracy looked like the guy you'd want giving a toast at your wedding. Steady, sharp, all-American. On-screen, he was the definition of integrity. Off-screen, a walking contradiction in a 3-piece suit. Tracy was Hollywood's gentleman, with a flask in his coat and chaos in his soul. He was a devout Catholic who never divorced his wife, but also spent over 25 years in a not-so-secret romance with Katharine Hepburn. To the public, they were just close friends. Sure, and whiskey is just spicy water. But Tracy's biggest relationship wasn't with Hepburn or his wife. It was with alcohol. The man drank like he was trying to erase a secret carved into his bones. Friends would lose track of him for days. He'd vanish into some bar spiral into a stupor, then show up on set like nothing happened. Hair combed, lines memorized, hangover, hidden behind raw talent. He wasn't just moody, he was stormy. Directors described working with him as walking on glass barefoot. One moment he was warm and wise. The next he was throwing scripts and breaking hearts. And Hebron, she didn't just love him, she managed him. Babysitter, buffer, emotional bodyguard. Her loyalty kept him standing when the bottle tried to take him down. But the saddest part, Tracy knew exactly what he was. He once said, "I have demons and they never let me go." And he meant it. Shame, guilt, addiction. They weren't visitors. They were roommates. He died just 2 weeks after finishing his final film. Like his soul had been on a stopwatch. Spencer Tracy was brilliant, magnetic, tortured, a man who played strength so well, even as he unraveled quietly behind the curtain. Number 10. John Barrymore, the Hamlet who drank the kingdom. John Barrymore was born into royalty, not the Buckingham kind, but the Broadway kind. Acting was in his blood, Shakespeare in his bones, and cocktails in, well, everything else. They called him the Great Profile, and for a while, that profile was on every marquee and martini glass in town. In the 1920s and 30s, Barrymore wasn't just an actor, he was the actor. The kind who made Hamlet sexy and sonnets sound like seduction. But while the world applauded, John was backstage doing shots with his demons. At first, his drinking was legendary in a charming rogue kind of way. Late night parties, witty insults, brandy for breakfast. He was the life of every room, and the reason the furniture ended up broken. But then the decline hit hard. He started forgetting lines, missing shows, and showing up to sets either drunk, hungover, or just gone. His performances turned from poetic to pathetic. Friends tried to help, but John didn't want saving. He wanted another round. His mansion became a revolving door of strangers, unpaid bar tabs, and the occasional peacock, "Don't ask." Once he was found asleep under a dinner table in someone else's house. Another time he tried to seduce a statue. The man was a walking Shakespearean tragedy, only louder and more flammable. He insulted studio heads, hit on married women, and pulled pranks at parties that would get you canceled and deported today. One producer famously said, "Barrymore could outdrink his legacy." And sadly, he did. By the end, the great John Barrymore was a shadow of himself. Broke, forgotten, and too drunk to remember the lines that once made him a god. He died in 1942 at 60. The world lost a legend. The liquor stores lost a customer. And Hollywood learned that even kings fall, especially when they drink like pirates. Number 11. Fatty Arbuckle, the fall guy who broke Hollywood. Before there was TMZ, before there was tabloid Twitter drama, there was Fatty Arbuckle, the original scandal bomb that rocked Hollywood so hard it needed a morality manual to recover. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle was huge, and not just in size. He was one of silent cinema's biggest stars, a slapstick genius, and close buddies with Charlie Chaplin. Audiences loved him. Studios banked on him. He was the jolly giant of early Hollywood until one party flipped the script. In 1921, Arbuckle threw a wild bash at a San Francisco hotel. Booze flowed, prohibition be damned, jazz blared, and guests partied like no one was watching. But someone was. Actress Virginia Rappe ended up dead. Arbuckle was accused of rape and manslaughter. Cue. Public hysteria. The headlines exploded. Church groups screamed. Movie theaters pulled his films overnight. Moral panic hit DEFCON 5. Hollywood freaked out so hard, they basically invented PR crisis management on the spot. Arbuckle faced 3 trials. The first 2 ended in hung juries. The third finally cleared his name with a full jury apology, no less. But it didn't matter. The damage was done. Studios dropped him like a flaming script. His name was radioactive. He tried to make a comeback under fake names, directing B-movies in the shadows, but the scandal haunted him like a bad punchline. He finally signed a real deal for a comeback, and then dropped dead of a heart attack that same night. That's Hollywood timing for you. His legacy complex. Arbuckle was never proven guilty, but he was punished like he was. He became the poster boy for Hollywood's wildness, triggering the Hays Code Tinseltown's first morality leash. Fatty wasn't the last star to fall, but he was the first to remind Hollywood that fame is fragile, reputations are flammable, and one party can end it all. Number 12. Warren Beatty. The Casanova who ran Hollywood like a movie set. Warren Beatty didn't just conquer Hollywood. He seduced it with matinee idol looks, politician charm, and a Rolodex that could cause a blackout from sheer scandal voltage. Batty wasn't chasing fame. Fame chased him, usually in high heels. He reportedly slept with over 12,000 women. Yes, you read that right. That's not a love life. That's a population. Co-stars, models, starlets, possibly your aunt. No one was safe from Batty's gravitational pull. But Warren wasn't just a lover. He was a control freak with great cheekbones. On set, he rewrote scripts, argued with directors, and shut down productions if things didn't go his way. He made movies the way he lived life passionately, meticulously, and only on his terms. And somehow it worked. Bonnie and Clyde shampoo reds. Batty didn't just star. He masterminded. Studio execs feared him. Actresses adored him. And tabloids lived for him. He ghosted commitment for decades until, shocker of the century, he married Annette Bening. Like legally, signed papers, settled down. America gasped. But even as a husband and father, Batty still carried the legend of a man who once ruled Hollywood by whispering into a phone and raising one eyebrow. Was he brilliant? Undeniably. Was he difficult? Oh, honey. Directors have ulcers named after him, but he understood the game, and he played it better than anyone. Warren Batty didn't crash. He didn't burn. He produced, directed, and edited The Fire. Some stars self-destructed. Batty simply outlasted them. In the end, he wasn't just a player in Hollywood's story. He helped write the damn script. Number 13, Tony Curtis, Hollywood's Prince of Pleasure and Powder. Tony Curtis didn't just arrive in Hollywood. He slid in like a Cadillac on a red carpet with movie star looks, Bronx swagger, and a grin that could melt morals. He wasn't built for the silver screen, he owned it. From Some Like It Hot to Spartacus, Curtis was everywhere. He had the charm of Sinatra, the energy of a golden retriever, and the libido of a rock concert. According to him, he slept with hundreds of women, including Marilyn Monroe. Modest, never believable, unfortunately. Yes, but Tony wasn't just chasing women. He was chasing the high. Fame, attention, adoration, and eventually drugs. Lots of them. By the 70s, Curtis was snorting cocaine like it was breakfast cereal. Heroin followed, and reality that got blurry. He once said, "If you remember the 70s, you weren't really there." And I barely was. At least he was honest. Curtis burned through 6 marriages and 6 kids, including Scream Queen Jamie Lee Curtis, who later opened up about how emotionally distant her dad was. One daughter claimed he cut her out of his will entirely, like not even a toaster. Directors grew tired of his tantrums. Producers avoided his parties. His career, once unstoppable, started tripping over its own excess. But even when he was falling apart, Tony stayed entertaining. On talk shows, he was equal parts charming, chaotic, and wildly self-aware. He knew he'd turned his life into a circus. He just couldn't always find the exit. "I was the ringmaster," he said, "and sometimes I forgot where the lions were." Tony Curtis lived fast, talked faster, and crashed. But he never stopped performing, even when the spotlight started to dim. Number 14, Mickey Rooney, Hollywood's wildest child, never grew up. Before Macaulay Culkin, before Lindsay Lohan, there was Mickey Rooney, the original child star, the human firecracker, the kid who ruled Hollywood before he could legally drive. At one point, he was the highest paid actor in America. Not bad for someone who still needed a note to skip school. In the 1930s and 40s, Mickey was everywhere singing, dancing, charming audiences as Andy Hardy, the all-American boy next door. But here's the twist. He never stopped being that boy. Ever. Even when he was 60, broke drunk, and on his 8th marriage. Yep, 8 marriages, including one to Ava Gardner. Because why not crash a goddess-level relationship before lunch? Rooney didn't just love women. He collected them. But relationships were just one part of his storm. Gambling. Oh yeah. He blew through millions faster than a Vegas slot machine with a grudge. And it wasn't just casinos. Mickey owed money to people you don't want to owe money to. Think broken kneecaps and whispers in the dark. His later years, a slow-motion car crash. He accused his own stepson of abuse and financial theft, trusted the wrong people, got robbed blind. The kid who once had the world in his pocket died fighting for control over what little he had left. And yet, he never stopped performing. Film, TV, stage, talk shows. Into his 90s, Rooney was still booking gigs, still cracking jokes, still trying. Like if he stopped moving, the silence would swallow him. "I never had a childhood," he once said. "I just had a career. And that career never let him go. It raised him, chewed him up, and kept him on life support with applause." Mickey Rooney wasn't just a cautionary tale. He was a lifetime subscription to fame and all its fine print. Number 15, James Dean, the rebel who hit the gas and never looked back. James Dean lived like a spark, bright, wild, and gone before anyone could catch him. With just 3 films, he didn't just become a movie star, he became a damn myth. Brooding eyes, cigarette in hand, collar popped like he was allergic to authority. Dean was the blueprint for teenage rebellion. Before teenager was even a marketing category, he wasn't acting angsty. He was angsty. On screen and off, Dean radiated the kind of tortured charisma that made directors swoon and parents nervous. He raced cars like he was late to outrun fate. And spoiler alert, fate doesn't pull over. Dean didn't just like danger. He flirted with it, drove too fast,